What's going on? What's happening, everyone? Part of my presence YouTube channel. I was perusing YouTube and I ran across this video by Choke No Joke, and the title drew my interest. The title read, Lil Lucifer Nas X and Tamika Cadillac Mallory. Now, I could give a shit about Lil Nas X, don't care for his music or his message, but Tamika Cadillac Mallory, that piqued my interest. So I did a little bit of searching, went on Google, went on YouTube, and what came back was the fact that Tamika Mallory is a part of a Cadillac campaign or Cadillac sponsorship, and there was a 30-second commercial that came out starring Tamika Mallory. Now, I do want to go into the backdrop of this story because there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, so I want to connect everything together. So if you recall, there was an article that came out about a month ago in February where it came out that Black Lives Matter raised more than $90 million in 2020. And if you remember the year of 2020, that was the year of coronavirus. It was the year of the US election. It was also the year of mass protests because of the murder of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and of course, George Floyd, which was caught on camera, and we saw pretty much 8 minutes and 44 seconds of his murder. And as a result of that, a lot of people decided to get involved. Of course, no one knows how because people aren't really connected with black people or grassroots organizations, and they don't want to get their hands dirty, but they will throw money at problems. And they decided that the only organization that they're aware of that's noteworthy is Black Lives Matter. So a lot of people threw their support financially into that particular organization. And as a result, you have the amount of $90 million in their possession, yet they have not distributed to any of the local chapters. They have not given it to any of the grassroots organizations within certain cities that are at need, and they're just holding on to that money, and no one knows what's going on. Nothing's being accounted for. If you were to ask me, I'm under the impression that that money has already been spent. It was part of the campaign for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That's my opinion. Again, I could be wrong. I can't prove that, but it's my opinion that that money was used towards that particular campaign, and the $90 million is no longer there. But if I'm going to play by the rules, okay, let's say the $90 million is there. Why haven't they given it out? What they've mentioned in the article is that they're waiting on building something big. Who knows what that means? But here's the thing. Black Lives Matter was created amongst the time of Michael Brown, Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice as well too. They all received fuel from those murders. They all gained notoriety. They all gained the momentum. They became a legitimate organization. They got on television. They got a lot of spots. They got a lot of cameras, a lot of eyes. Because there's numerous amount of grassroots organizations, but Black Lives Matter got all of the coverage on the backs of Black Death. So to hear that the families that they used, that they exploited, that they put on TV, that they ran multiple times on social media, that their members are not doing well financially, that their members cannot connect with the leaders of Black Lives Matter, that they cannot get proper funding when they ask from Black Lives Matter. After all that they've gone through, it's wild to hear that story. So now let's fast forward to this particular instance where Tamika Mallory is doing a commercial with Cadillac. Now, to be fair to Tamika Mallory, she's not connected to Black Lives Matter officially. However, she's connected to many other organizations. I believe her parents were activists and were founder members with Al Sharpton and the National Action Network. So she has activism in her blood. And here's the funny thing. When you look on her profile line, her occupation is activist. Now, let me be clear before I say anything else. There's no such thing as an occupation called an activist, because by definition, an activist is somebody that's against the system, that's against the establishment, that is against the financial system, okay? They're protesters. They are people who are looking to fight the system, to make change, change societal points of views, to change the system and how it's set up. They are anti-establishment. So they can't be on someone's payroll. Because the question is, if they are on someone's payroll, whose payroll is that? Because the person who finances a movement, an organization, is the person who controls it. And if she is an activist for hire and she's an employee, then that means she has a boss who tells her what to do. And this is where it gets interesting, because many times you see Tamika Mallory in Tennessee, you see her in Atlanta, you see her in LA, you see her in Ohio, you see her all over the country. Who's paying for all of that? It takes money to travel. It takes money to be at these events. For whatever reason, she's always on camera. She's at news stations. She's on CNN. She gets public speaking engagements. All those things lead to expenses, but also she gets paid by all those speaking engagements as well too. So people need to understand, although a lot of people in college and university, they protested and they felt that they're changing the system. They felt that they're able to make change from that standpoint, and it was all fun and games. It seems like nowadays there is money to be made and there's a career to be had out of activism. Who knew that being woke could lead to dollars? Who knew that being anti-establishment could have you established? Who knew that Tamika Mallory would be Al Sharpton 2.0? So a lot of people are upset with Tamika Mallory. They're calling her a sellout. They're saying that this is not the move to make. She's been bought. She's using black plight, and she's turning around and making money off of it. She's profiting off Black Death. All these different things that they're saying about Tamika Mallory, I understand. I understand why people are saying it. So my son came to her defense by saying activists have bills too, which is true. Tamika Mallory is a single mother of a son. Apparently the father was murdered in 2001, but she is a single mother to a son. She has to provide a roof over that son's head. She has to provide food, clothing, financially provide for her family, and also make sure that her son goes to a proper school. All those things require money. So here's the conflict, because an activist is someone who bucks the system, someone who's anti-establishment, but the people who have the money and the resources are the establishment. So this is where you get into these funny situations where the people who you're fighting against are the same people that you're asking to fund your movements. And this is where you get in situations where you have Tamika Mallory using the platform that Cadillac provides her in the 30-second commercial to get her points across. And there's a trade-off. The trade-off for her is that Tamika Mallory gets to have money in her pockets to, of course, cover all of her living expenses and her needs and her tastes and her son's needs and tastes. And also to give her a higher profile, because once you get one sponsorship and people know that you have a price, then you're going to get other sponsorships coming through the door as well too. Now, the other thing about this is that when George Floyd died, there was a lot of corporations that wanted to get involved as well too. And as I said before, when it comes to those big entities, all they know how to do is throw money at problems. So there's a lot of articles that came out about companies and corporations earmarking millions of dollars to help black people start businesses, to help black people create products under their umbrella, to help black people create podcasts that speak to a specific market. So you had all of these articles that came out, all of these good faith acts, you could say, by organizations and companies to kind of support black people, but they don't know who to get to do their bidding. And this is where you have a particular position that a lot of black people want to fill. And it's not just any black person. It's a black person that has a large following, a black person who uses their equity as far as them being a black, quote unquote, black leader that could speak on behalf of black people, or who can change the taste of black people or change the mindset of black people, quote unquote tastemakers, and who could kind of redirect black people if necessary. One of those people being Jay-Z. If you know how Jay-Z operates, how he peddles his position as being the black spokesperson, when he did that deal with NFL, what did he say? We're beyond that now. We're past kneeling. That was him speaking on behalf of black people. Even him speaking on behalf of Kaepernick. And Kaepernick even said he never spoke to Jay-Z about this. But you have a lot of people in that position. Al Sharpton's that position. Benjamin Crump is in that position. Lee Merritt is in that position. And now Tamika Mallory, who is under the tutelage of Al Sharpton, is now in that position as well, too. So the question becomes, what did Cadillac gain from this? Because we know what Tamika Mallory gains from this. What does Cadillac gain from this? So I'll just be straight up with you. Cadillac is a dying brand. It's a dying brand. When you look at the sales in the past, 10, 20 years, the Cadillac car has been declining. It's not on the same level as the BMW, the Benz, the Audi, the Lexus. It's on the decline. It's more known for an older man's car. I believe the last time Cadillac had any kind of youthful or urban appeal was during the 90s with the Cadillac Escalade. But since those days and the fact that it was a gas guzzler, it's no longer a car that people see as a status symbol. So how could this not help? By putting money into this campaign that's called, I guess, the Black Audacity campaign, by supporting what they consider to be black initiatives or the black message, which will only gain market share for them from a market that they probably haven't had in a long time. They're still going to have their core audience or their core fan base, the core clientele, but now this way they're able to branch off and get a much youthful audience, a much youthful consumer that they weren't able to get before. So there is a positive spin for them from a financial standpoint, because remember, they are a company. They're in the business of making money. So at the end of the day, no matter what they do, no matter what they say they're in it for, there's always a bottom line, and that is to make a profit. Ahmaud Marbury's family will never be the same again. Breonna Taylor's family will never be the same again. George Floyd's family will never be the same again. Michael Brown's. Trayvon Martin's. Tamir Rice's family, they will never be the same again. So how is this justice for the people that have suffered the most when they are not able to gain it all from any of these things? Not in the way that they should, because you can't gain a life back no matter how much money they get from any settlement. And at the end of the day, that settlement that they get is broken up between lawyers. The activists, quote unquote activists, get their cut as well too, because they create the social destruction and the social commotion that puts the pressure on the authorities and the councilmen and the politicians to decide to give the money. And the larger the social unrest is, the higher the reward. Wash, rinse, repeat. So at the end of the day, I don't want anyone calling these people activists, because they're not. They're spokespeople. And the product that they're selling is Black Death and exploitation. And they will sell it until they get the price that they're looking for. Lee Merritt, Benjamin Crump. They're supposed to be lawyers. Have you ever seen them in court taking something to trial? No, they're backdoor lawyers because they work backdoor deals. That is what they do. They're negotiators. So again, all of these people that we see on TV positioning themselves to become the go-to people, they are benefiting from this financially. But again, what do you expect? Because our own dollars to be put towards them is not going to be enough for what they're looking for. They want to get paid out. And the way to do that is by making the corporations guilty enough to give them the dollars that they want. So understand the game that's being played. It's not always about justice. It's about, can they push the guilt factor to the point where corporations decide to throw money at the problem. And once they do, they take the money. But what is the fix? What's actually really happening? Who comes out any better? That can be argued. And that's probably the saddest part of this all. Is that the people who suffered the most, the backs of the people that they build these movements off of, they're not able to get anything from this. And that's the saddest part of this all. Because I should never have to hear from Michael Brown's father, Tamika Rice's mother, or any other family member of a person who was killed unjustly. And to hear them say, hey, I didn't hear back from any of these leaders. I didn't get any financial support from any of these leaders. And I'm struggling, I'm hurting after what happened to me. No restitution. And I have to hear from the article that they have amassed $90 million and they don't know what to do with it. How about starting with the families first? So I'm going to leave it at that. Start with the families first. They deserve restitution. Start with them first. And after that, the lesson to be learned here is at the end of the day, your family is your responsibility. Your hard work, your money, your resources, your time, your investment should be towards your family. Because that's the only family that you could save. And in some cases, you can't even save your own family. You can only save yourself. But at the end of the day, the only thing that you can control is the outcome of your family under your roof, under your tutelage, under your leadership. So make sure your leadership is solid. Make sure you're doing what you have to do as a man or as a woman, whoever the head of the household is. And make sure that you breed and groom productive people in society that's going to be leaders with integrity, leaders with purpose, and leaders who don't have to become activists. And I'll leave it at that. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Until next time, pardon my presence.